Alright, looks like game number 1. The map is going to be Arkansas. We do have in the west part of the map in the color red playing Japan is Stitchh. And in the east in the color blue playing Great Britain is GiveUAnxiety. And I believe it's a qualifiers match in the advanced division qualifiers. I think it's a best of 5. So first player to win 3 games, and looks like it is a wood start. So both Japan and the British are going to be starting with 300 wood, and we'll see what the players elect to do with that. A lot of options for both. Japan can go for the standard early consulate, Portuguese ally, build a shrine. They can also go for an early trading post. The British can build 2 manors. They can build a manor in a market. They can go early trading post. Truly just endless options. So once this game loads up, which it's taken a while. It's taken a while, not gonna lie. We've got a big question mark from GiveUAnxiety. And this is the longest I have ever seen a match load in while I've been casting. So what in the hell do I talk about? I suppose we can perform a balance check. Map looks pretty balanced. Looks like Stitch's 3 deer hunts are closer to his TC than GiveUAnxiety's, but they're all present, so looks nice and balanced here. Stitchh is dropping, so that's unfortunate. Start to game number 1. So we'll back on out and try to get this back. Boy, it's going to be awfully anticlimactic if we started this late stream, this pretty hype series between these 2 good players, and we're having network issues. So let me add Stitchh to my friends list. Says he's still in game, so he must be having some real PC issues here. I'm not certain where Stitchh is from geographically. GiveUAnxiety and I are both, in North America, so depending on everyone's hardware and internet connection and whatnot, we might experience some difficulties here. Anyways, this is a betting match, so if you guys are participating in the betting, which if you're not, you should, because it's free to enter, and whoever accumulates the most points by the end wins $100. So this is a betting match, and I personally, I don't know if I should reveal who I bet on, because I feel like I should maintain an unbiased sort of caster persona here, but I did bet on Stitchh 3-0. Might have been a little crazy here, not sure, because one, I've never even heard of Stitchh before, and then after I looked him up on the ELO ladder, he's like PR 33 or something, previously like a colonel. Seems pretty good, but I do some more searching, and he played his last game like 2 weeks ago, and I have reason to question his activity as of late, so I don't know how in form he's going to be. Meanwhile, GiveUAnxiety, part-time streamer, he's been playing a lot, and you can expect him to show up on form, so we'll have to see. Stitchh is offline though. It looks like he was finally able to leave the game. If you guys are just tuning in, Game 1 loaded up, but we never started. Stitchh dropped at time 0, so trying to get him back online and go for round 2. Alright, just had to correct Prince of Carthage and GiveUAnxiety's chat real quick. So if you guys are curious, GiveUAnxiety is streaming this match on his personal channel from his first person point of view. I think that'll be really interesting to watch, and if your internet can support it, maybe have both of these Twitch tabs open during this series, because from the ESOC TV stream you'll be able to see a sort of, you know, a more grand view, sort of bird's eye view of things, and, you know, have some information on what the opponent is doing too, what kind of cards they're sending. We did coordinate this. Both streams should be running at the same 2-minute delay, so they should synergize pretty well. Meanwhile, Stitchh not online as of yet. Fighting Frenchman says betting is too confusing. I think it's made really simple, although I have messed up my bets twice because I was a little confused. But that's more in the presentation. I just wasn't really reading. It was kind of my mistake, but the process for betting is pretty simple. You have a bank of points and a matchup between 2 players, and your options are, you know, player A winning, player B winning, or each possible option, right? A winning 3-0, 3-1, 3-2, etc. Same for B. And the odds are auto-generated based upon the points already bet thus far. So, you know, the underdog is going to give you more of a payout than the favorite. And it shows you the odds for each possible outcome. And it's up to you to allocate your points to, you know, whether hedge your bets, spread your bets out a bit, you know, try to minimize loss, but, you know, don't really win big, or you can just kind of go all in on one result, which is what I've done here. So fingers crossed that I win this bet for this game. But Stitchh is, you know, we're still missing Stitchh. So, well, hi David, hi Gibson. Well, hi. Well, hi. Well, hi. You know, I might take a nap after this. Naps are good. Do you guys have any opinions on nap length? You know, some people like to stick with the power nap, you know, like as short as 20 minutes, you know, 20 to 30 minutes, somewhere in that ballpark. Personally, I'm of the opinion that I just nap until I wake up. You know, sometimes it's an hour, sometimes it's 2, 3, or, you know, maybe 4-hour nap. Just kind of in the middle of the day. But, you know, I think sleep is just so important. You just have to give it to your body, you know, whenever it wants it. I mean, if you sleep for 20 minutes and you set an alarm, that just sounds terrible. It sounds like you're just as tired as when you went to bed. But also sometimes I will wake up from a 4-hour nap and be much more tired than when I went, you know, when I took the nap, despite it being 4 hours of rest later. And it'll take me a couple hours to really wake up. Anyways, that's my great story. You know, I think I'm just going to edit up the overlay, throw on some music, and wait for Stitchh, because quite frankly, I don't really enjoy talking by myself, and I don't think you guys enjoy listening to it. So let's see. Winter overlay. Ah, fudge! She just came back online. Alright, never mind. Stitchh is back. Here we are. Trying to do it again. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. All right. Try number 2. First game went, well, Stitchh dropped. Looks like he's having, I don't know, some issues with recorded game. But we are back and going to give it another go. So this is, well, will be game number 1, this best of 5 series between GiveUAnxiety and Stitchh. This is a qualifying match in the advanced division, just below the pro division, the second highest tier. And what do we have here? Looks like GiveUAnxiety in the west of the map in the color blue playing Great Britain, and Stitchh in the east of the map in the color red playing Japan. The crate start is different than last game. We do have a coin start now instead of a wood start. So I think neither player is going to really prefer that. However, probably slightly better for Brits, especially as they find a nice 40 coin treasure in their base. You're going to be able to build a market if they so choose and get an early hunting dog. So it looks like that's exactly what GiveUAnxiety is going to do. Meanwhile, Stitchh is picking up 40 XP. Going to be nice to head start his first card, whatever he might choose to send. 2 villagers, Heavenly Kami, maybe 300 wood. I think we've seen all of them so far in the tournament in various matches. But so far, both players neither stumbling upon a great treasure. However, there's 95 wood in the middle of the map. This is going to be risky for either player to take because it's sort of right where all the scouting happens. And if we do turn on Fog of War, it looks like Stitchh is going to be the first person to discover it. GiveUAnxiety is not yet. And we'll see what he decides to do. Stitchh is picking up 80 XP. Will he poof his Explorer back to his town center and try to go for this 95 wood, or just, do some more exploring himself? Looks like the latter option. GiveUAnxiety going to be picking up 90 coin. The settlers do have hunting dogs, so that's quite nice. Looks like the coin was overchopped a bit to begin with. And it'd be a bit too greedy to try to chop, to mine. What would this be? 16 coin and, like 10 wood or something. 10 or 15 wood to get an extra manor. It's probably a bit too slow versus a civ like Japan. And we do have a treasure contention right here. Looks like Stitchh is just going to let that wolf regenerate HP. However, he can't really stick around. GiveUAnxiety is always going to win this hero battle. And he just aggroes a wolf when it's already regained hit points. So this is going to be really awkward. And he's in definite danger of losing his Explorer at this point. And you have to wonder if it's really worth it. Oh, he gets a Divine Strike, but unfortunately wasn't quite near enough to treasure. Whoa! Never mind. Stitchh picks that one up. And I must be blind, and we do have 300 wood in as his first card. So all sorts of crazy things happening in the first 2.5 minutes of this game. So 300 wood. We did see this actually when For Justice was playing Japan on this map. He collected 200 of the wood, and I believe he made a consulate out of that and just managed to ally with Portuguese soon enough to get the food discount on his wonder to age up to age 2. However, it looks like Stitchh is going to ship this, but just leave it on the floor and gather the full 800 to lay down his first wonder. Meanwhile, that's some messy walking time right there. I think Oh, GiveUAnxiety's trying to pick off this Explorer. Oh, he tried to poof, but he was just inside TC range. So that's going to be a huge pickup for GiveUAnxiety and very sad for Stitchh. It's going to be a difficult Explorer to get back, and his last remaining hero is quite low on hit points, only has 40 remaining. Alright, we do have the Torii Gate Shrine. I will not make the mistake of calling that the Toshuga again. So Torii Gates and a Consulate coming down. So this does look quite similar to Ford Justice's initial start, just perhaps slightly slower, leaving that Consulate and that wood on the floor in Age 1 and not getting the food discount from the Portuguese Consulate. However, in that game, Ford Justice did start with an early trading post, and Stitchh has not. So, you know, Stitchh won't also send Heavenly Kami. That'd be very crazy. So let's quickly look at decks. GiveUAnxiety's is as standard as can be. Little VC thrown in there if you want it. Stitch's deck is also quite standard. I don't see anything really atypical here. You know, 300 wood instead of 2 villagers. It's nothing too crazy though. But GiveUAnxiety is up first and immediately planning down a barracks in the middle of the map. He did age up with 500 food, so he's not going to have that tower as a shipment point or sort of defensive structure here should Japan go for a sort of all-in strategy. That barracks is going to be easily scouted by Stitchh, and immediately I think we see GiveUAnxiety's Explorer wants to locate this low hit points Japanese Explorer and snare him or do something, and he just missed the opportunity to. It was definitely there, but he's got a lot of things going on. He just shipped 700 wood. He's got a lot of macroing to do, but Stitch's Explorer is going to escape, and he is only on 40 shrine population, so I think he, you know, it's definitely within his best interest to keep this guy alive. Meanwhile, the Samurai from the Age Up is just sort of coming over to help him pick up this bear treasure. So, going to be a nice little defense. And already we have 5 Musketeers on the field going to siege this first shrine. So, Stitchh is going to be in a lot of trouble because if that goes down, he's going to be popped. You know, I think with this sort of strategy, you would prefer to have your shrines in a more defensive location, such as behind his base right here, or, you know, maybe right here. Right in the middle of the map sort of leaves him open to, well, this sort of pressure right here. However, 5 Ashy are on the field, and there are only 2 longbows that got out from this bash from GiveUAnxiety. So the 5 Ashy are not going to be enough to challenge this. However, 5 more do join from the barracks. So it appears we could have a fight on our hands. This hero's going to go down though, for sure. It's being targeted. And yeah, meanwhile he's popped. He's completely popped 40 out of 30 population and has no wood and has no market. So in a bit of a pickle. We see him transfer some villagers to wood right now. I think he'd like to send a shipment. He's just sent it, so it's not a military card because he's going to send it because he's popped. So I imagine we might see 600 wood out here. I think he desperately needs it, but both of the Japanese explorers are down, and you know, Stitchh is up in military population for the time being, but the second barracks is being laid down by GiveUAnxiety, and this is sort of, you know, I like this play, and this is where you have to play really precisely as GiveUAnxiety. You have all these faster units. You're sort of down in the military economic or in the military population. How, you know, you have to make sure that you don't lose too much to these Ajigarus, and you know, still able to try to track them down somehow. You don't want them to just have free reign over your base, and Stitchh is getting some really good value out of them for right now. However, he will be losing another shrine. I'd like to see him just perhaps send one to revive this hero around the back of the base. Meanwhile, 6 Musketeers is coming out as GiveUAnxiety's 3rd colonial shipment. So, actually, I think he will deal with this pressure just fine. He did lose, let's see, a couple vills. Yeah, just 2 vills. not the end of the world by any means, but meanwhile Stitchh is still popped. He's been popped for ages, man. He finally got a market up, and he traded, I believe, some resources to build a couple shrines in the back of this base, but you know, as a result, you know, he's definitely behind in economic population, has a very low shrine population, and he hasn't been able to train villagers for probably at least a minute. So GiveUAnxiety is doing his best to try to track down these units, these Ashigarus, but of course the Ashigarus are faster than all the units on the field. The British longbows and musketeers only have a speed of 4.0, but the Ashigarus do have 4.5, excuse me. But GiveUAnxiety is doing a nice job of, you know, getting nice angles on him. You know, picking these up quite nice. You would think at this point in the game, GiveUAnxiety has his entire military chasing just these few units. You would like to see more Ashigarus. Here we are, you know, sort of working in like a clockwork, you know, cycle, kind of circular. When one goes out, another batch comes in from another angle on the map, and that's sort of the backbone of Ashigaru raiding, is you have to be all over the map at the same time, because he does need to do something to get himself back in this game. He's down in military and he's down in economy. So far it's not looking great, and he's losing another shrine, so now he's at 51 out of 60 population yet again. It's just looking really tough, and losing a Ville in base. He does have a stable down, so potentially he could get a nice Naki pop and a nice fight with these Ashigarus if the musketeers are out of position. It looks like Stitchh does pick up one more villager. It's a total of 3 down for GiveUAnxiety, and it looks like we might have a big fight here, but the musketeers are coming in. A Nagi pop. Let's look at units in queue. Oh, there it is. 5 pop right on the longbow. So that's a really nice pop. And let's see, do we see any Minutemen come down for Stitchh right now? We do have 1 set of Minutemen, and 4 of these Nagis, or 3 are still alive at quite high hit points. And this is a really nice trade for Stitchh. However, is it going to be enough? I think he will definitely hold. However, what is going on in the middle of the map? GiveUAnxiety's musketeers are cleaning up the rest of these Ashigarus. There are no more Ashigarus on the map to raid, and suddenly, you know, well, this still looks like it's very much in favor of GiveUAnxiety. And I've been hearing some notification noises in the back. It looks like we had many subscribers. Someone perhaps just gifted a lot of subs in the chat. So big thanks to Funkrat. There it is. Gifted 5 tier 1 subs. So thanks very much, man. Glad we can bring you this content that you like. And yeah, I'm not sure what these musketeers are really trying to do. I guess they'll pick off a villager, so that's quite nice, but they are, you know, very vulnerable here. Could be picked off easily, but, you know, I think GiveUAnxiety just senses his advantage here and wants to kind of push it down, you know, wants to go after it. I'm having trouble picking my words today, but some days are like that. Stitchh is again popped at 50 population, 50 shrine count, so, you know, he's just never really been in a position, I think, where he's felt comfortable. He does have a shrine here that he isn't building. I believe his explorer is unfortunately grouped with his army here. Yeah, I think it's just trying to path to his army. Yeah, it's all one group, I believe. Well, now he's going back to build the shrine, so it looks like he noticed that. Meanwhile, let's sort of look at these card choices. Stitchh has sent 600 coin twice and 600 wood once. Meanwhile, GiveUAnxiety has the cards that British want already. He's got 700 wood, 600 wood, 5 villagers, and now 700 coin and 700 food. So I think he's preparing for just a really large musketeer spam, or even I think he's so far ahead that he can age up to age 3 if he so chose. Little bit of micro here. Stitchh is micro and one Naginata, nice to pick off the low HP villager, but you know, it's too little too late. Gonna lose another villager back home. And you know, what's going on here? You know, he's gonna lose his barracks. He's laying down a wonder. That's why he's so well macroed right now. He has less than 100 of each resource. But how do you ever deal with this pressure? You know, you at the very least have to go on some counter raiding measures. But his army is just idle here in the bottom, and he's gonna call it. So game 1 goes to GiveUAnxiety, and my 3-0 bet on Stitchh is ruined. But that's alright. It's sort of a win-win situation, right? If I lose all my points, that's okay, because it will mean that NA will have won a tournament match. And that's what really matters. So look at the tail of the tape here. GiveUAnxiety. You know, this was, you know, a really nice fight for Stitchh, all things said. However, I think the game was just lost beforehand. Villagers, I mean, okay, I think this is where he got housed a bit. He couldn't train a whole lot. But it just felt like a build order loss for Stitchh, and that he was always just housed. If we look at buildings, you know, losing those shrines in the middle of the map just hurt his build tremendously. I really think he needed to, you know, either place those shrines in a smarter location or do something about it sooner. So, GG's to both players. Nice start for GiveUAnxiety. You have to be pleased with that. However, British is definitely GiveUAnxiety's main civilization, and commonly regarded as quite strong on EP7. So without that in his back pocket, who knows how the rest of the series will go. Alright, let me look at chat. Gibson has posted a link to the 2020 Super Bowl ticket sales, and oh my god, they are so expensive. $4,000 for the nosebleed sections. Oof. But I mean, dude, that's football in America. So people love that stuff, and they're gonna pay top dollar to go for the biggest celebration of consumerism we have annually. It's a fun time. I'm gonna order some pizza and wings and some beers on game day. It's the Super Bowl. Probably the greatest sporting event ever. Ever, you know. Coliseum, you know, with gladiator fights, you know, the original Olympics, current Olympics, it's all nothing compared to the Super Bowl. American football, baby. I am really looking forward to it. And it's nice. We have two teams that we don't see often. I mean, I guess sometimes we see the 49ers, but it's not like they're like a dynasty, you know, and no Patriots. I'm going to enjoy watching it. But that is still 2 weeks away, and we have an Age of Empires game right before our eyes here. So this match is GiveUAnxiety in the color blue playing Germany, in this part of the map, and in the west is Stitchh sticking with Japan that he did lose with in game 1 in the color orange. The map is ESOC Colorado. It's got sort of this winding trading post sort of feature in these large blocky cliffs that sort of divide the map into maybe 4 quadrants, you could say. Both players are just out and about trying to treasure, and I didn't pay attention to the great start, but it looks like it is a coin star. There's still 100 coin underneath the Japanese player's town center. So GiveUAnxiety is going to start to market, which I believe is fairly typical. This coin start with Germany, and Stitchh is going to do nothing with it and just kind of feel sad that it wasn't a wood start. So random crate starts are very balanced, guys, and affect each civ the same in every matchup. Meanwhile, he is going to be working on this Nuka Clubman treasure. It's going to be a nice pickup for him, although I don't know how impactful it might be in this particular H1. Of course, the rescued native warriors from these treasures, their damage towards heroes and villagers has been halved in H1 on EP7. So this guy's not going to be as effective as he might be before. However, if Germany decides to go for some sort of forward base, you know, he could be influential in that. However, he is going to be, I guess, influential in picking up this 95 wood treasure, which Japan will like quite a bit. It will sort of act like the 100 wood that they wish they had when they started the game. So let's look at each player's deck. Stitchh, it looks like, has chosen the exact same deck as before. Notably, 300 wood is present in this deck instead of 2 villagers. Meanwhile, GiveUAnxiety, this is about, yeah, this is again as standard as you can get for a German deck. No economic upgrade cards except for Eco Theory, just filled with unit shipments in Age 3 and a couple Age 4 cards, you know, just for fun, just to be safe. But 300 wood is coming down for Stitchh yet again in Age 1. And again, he's choosing not to collect this. So I just don't know how I feel about this. If you are going to send an H1 card like that and not even use it right away, wait until you are already aging to H2. It just feels completely unoptimal to me. You know, rather than if you would send Heavenly Kami, you know, that's sort of a longer game plan boost, you know, it affects all your shrines and the cost of your shrines. Or even if you send 2 villagers, right, it might take them longer to gather 300 wood, but after that they will be gathering you more resources. So, you know, I'm curious to see what he does with this wood again, if it's just to build another consulate. Like we even saw in the For Justice game, right, where he built an early trading post and then shipped 300 wood, but built a consulate right away to get the food discount for his Age of Wonder. You know, those all seem like better uses of an H1 shipment than what I'm seeing here. But I'm not a Japan player by any means, and also Stitchh is probably better than me. So I'll leave it to him to show us what he can do with this sort of play style. We do have a 90 wood treasure on the map, which I think both players are aware of and kind of want. GiveUAnxiety is going to take the first crack at it, but already Stitchh is immediately aggroing over here. However, GiveUAnxiety's villager is going to spot this. Yeah, nothing right now is going to happen. Meanwhile, I mean, like, there's just no shrining and transition at all for Stitchh. Looks like he wants to place one here in mid-map. Meanwhile, GiveUAnxiety, what is he doing? He's chopped 325 wood in transition, and he's immediately laying down an in-base barracks. That is a lot of wood, and he doesn't necessarily have the coin for steel trap. So I'm not quite sure what his transition macro was trying to accomplish there. But I think he could easily be researching steel traps right now, but is choosing not to. If we look at units in queue, 2 pikemen are in queue, so it looks like GiveUAnxiety just wants to get started on these shrines, and he will have 2 fairly close to him that are accessible. And GiveUAnxiety is just slowly picking off the treasure guardians for this 90 wood treasure and also this 120 XP. Both of those would benefit either player who got them. And oh, nice reaction from Stitchh to potentially poof away had these 2 Ulans spotted him. But it looks like GiveUAnxiety is just going to use them to help him treasure. So actually, this looks like a pretty nice start for Germany for sure. Although I'm still a little frustrated that he doesn't have steel traps yet. You know, that's quite an important upgrade. But this one samurai is going to kind of do quite a number on these two pikemen. That's impressive. I haven't really seen that before. Nice little micro. He's, you know, clicking off the samurai from the low HP pikeman to have his explorer finish it off. And it looks like he's just going to try to take this fight. 5 Ashy times 5 Ashy, you know, both times sort of going to be an all-in aggressive build. So the M-base barracks from GiveUAnxiety is exactly what he needed versus his playstyle, and laying down a second barrack. So I think GiveUAnxiety has, you know, if he did not scout it outright, you know, I think he has an idea of what Stitchh wants to do with Japan, and you know, the sort of new age aggro style. I say new age, but I'm sure it was quite popular during the RE quick search ladder era, which is I think where Stitchh comes from. So, you know, if some of his builds seem a little peculiar, that might be why. He's definitely an older player, and he has not been as active in recent memory. So looks like GiveUAnxiety is popped, but he hasn't. He's not queuing Minutemen. So Minutemen are not on the way yet. I'm trying to watch his resources, and he is going to lose at least one villager. And right now, this Ashigaru mass seems kind of scary, but unfortunately, they aren't slowed down. Okay, the Japanese heroes also have 4.5 speed, so they all move as one cohesive unit. But unfortunately, I don't think was able to accomplish much there. Only killed one villager and, you know, a handful of units for a handful of his own units. Meanwhile, he's just down in 4 economic population, you know, 4 equivalent villagers, which is a little sad to see. But and again, he's popped. He's popped. Losing that shrine, you know, he makes almost no shrines with this strategy, but he still places them in areas that are super accessible for GiveUAnxiety's units. Nice little micro there, though, to pick up the 2 Ulans, you know, quite quickly, who are snaring this massive Ashigaru, and it looks like he's just going to be able to run back home. And he has got another shrine up now, so he's able to produce villagers again. And let's look at units in queue. Stitchh is floating some resources, and I'm unsure if he's trying to age or if he would like to train more units. He does have 2 Naginatas in queue, and he is going to lose a villager to these 2 Ulans. Ulans are just brutal raiding units, man. Only takes a few swings of each to take down a villager. You know, you really have to be on top of your reactions when you're playing against Germany. Meanwhile, GiveUAnxiety has just shipped 700 coin, and I believe he's going to use that to age. He's got almost all of his villagers on food. He has no units in queue. You know, this is just all the hallmarks for an age up. So we'll have to see if Stitch's timing is going to accomplish anything. He's still spending all of his resources pushing out across the map with this Ashigaru Naginata composition, which can do quite well versus Germany. They, you know, might struggle versus this sort of composition here, having no musketeer unit of their own. And GiveUAnxiety is sort of getting a little greedy, placing down a second trading post here in the middle of the map, rather than, say, population space or whatnot. And he still doesn't have steel traps. But you know, all that said, I don't really find this mass scary from Stitchh. I think GiveUAnxiety is perfectly poised to deal with this just fine. His buildings are in a nice defensive structure. The Naginatas are going to find it difficult to path inside, and he still does have access to Minutemen should he choose it. I think it's just imperative for him not to lose any villagers in this push, and yeah, I mean, this is just going to be completely pushed back while GiveUAnxiety is aging, and Stitchh is struggling. He's struggling. Units lost. Did he lose any more villagers? No. He only lost the 1 villager from earlier, but you know, this build is just so low eco out of Stitchh. It's really kind of the definition of all in. 300 wood, 5 ashy twice, 600 coin twice. Meanwhile, Germany is shipping cards like 3 settler wagons, 700 wood, you know, and they're holding just fine. I think some adjustment of the strategy should be considered if you're Stitchh. And it looks like he's going to try to age up, you know, follow up himself. Both players are at the same population, but again, I mean, these two shrines, they're nice. They provide line of sight in the middle of the map, but if you are going to be on such a low shrine count throughout the game, I think you'd really prefer to have those shrines in the back of your base. Sort of like I Am Turk does when he plays Japan. If you play I Am Turk's Japan, you know, he usually plays this sort of aggressive sort of style, but he never puts shrines out where you can siege them when he does that. They are always like in his base, and you can't really control the map in that sense. So Stitchh is going up to H3 after just having shipped 4 villagers and 3 war wagons. It's going to be GiveUAnxiety's first card in the Fortress Age. So he's going to sort of push out on the map, gain access to this hunt that he needs badly, and you know, I think he's content to just sort of bide his time. He does have 2 trading posts up, so his fortress, you know, sort of critical mass is going to come sooner. Just sort of spamming these wonderful unit shipments, they're going to come in a little bit quicker. And in the meantime, you know, I think he's hesitant to push out too far because Stitchh might be staying H2 and he doesn't want to get caught out of position. But I think once he scouts his age up from Stitchh, he's going to, you know, become very aggressive quite soon. And a bit of a 5 Ulan raid coming in from the north of the map. However, the Naginatas are in a good place to deal with it. These Ulans are still colonial, they're not veteran. But nice reaction from GiveUAnxiety to sort of get out of there. However, he finds the base all walled up. Those clubs moving now, yes. Nice reaction. Those Ulans are all gone for nil. However, that's a lot of valuable scouting that GiveUAnxiety has just procured from sort of 5 kind of useless cavalry units unless they're massed up and teched with veterans. So I think he's going to be very content to just keep sieging these shrines outside of Japan's base, and it's going to be up to Stitchh to do something again. He's finally taken the lead in economic population. However, he's popped, or he just was, and he soon will be again. He's got to do something about this shrine count, man. Meanwhile, I would like to see GiveUAnxiety upgrade his crossbows. I think he's got enough of them. If we look at all units, military units will work. He's got 22 crossbows. I think that's at the point where you want to upgrade them to veteran, especially when you're facing off against an Ashigaru mass. And that crossbows have recently been buffed on EP7. However, you know, I can understand Germany is usually kind of quite wood-starved in H3, and a nice raid here from the Naginatas. However, they don't do a lot of damage versus villagers. And if we look at units lost, GiveUAnxiety only lost to 1 settler wagon in that raid, so not going to be anything too crazy. However, it does force his entire army to react, and he's pulled back all of his war wagons, all of his units, to try to track down these Nagis. And really, it's up to Stitchh now to get out of here alive. These are not units that you can afford to be wasting at this point in the game when you're down in score like Stitchh is. And you know, losing another shrine to just these 3 pikemen. The mass of Stitch's units is in the back of the base. And sort of curious macro here from Stitchh. He's got almost all villagers on food and wood. He's popped in shrines yet again as another shrine falls to these pikemen, and he's trying to build more up top but cannot. You know, if I had to guess, I think he's going to ship 1,000 coin as his next card, and he's just trying to take this into late H4. GiveUAnxiety perhaps you know, missing his window to accomplish something. He was sort of running around with his army a lot, chasing those Nagi that were raiding. Now chasing these 4 clubmen. But, you know, still doing a good job of sieging shrines around the map. And it looks like Stitchh is pushing out with some units. Curious as to why, because if this mask gets caught out of position, it's completely dead. There's not much that Stitchh can do to fight this army currently. And in fact, I think he might need a lot more Yumis and walls at home. And he's going to try to go back, but you know, is it going to be able to? The skirmishers are here, nice in position, and going to get a lot of volleys off. Same with the war wagons. Trying to get back as much as he can. The pikemen are coming in now to siege these walls, which do have half health on EP. So this is going to be really tough, I think, for Stitchh to hold. He does have a card on the way, which I imagine has to be 1,000 coin to try to get this age up in queue. But in the meantime, what is he going to lose? You know, it looks like his consulate's going to go down. Some more shrines, right? Another shrine would probably pop him again. And he shipped 9 Yumi. So it looks like he's just going to go for sort of pure Yumi now. That's why he's gathering almost no coin. And 2 flamethrowers are here now, but Jaegers are on the battlefield, and we all know how strong this shipment is. However, it has been nerfed slightly on EP7, and it now delivers only 12 Jaegers instead of 13. But you know, the military population, 112 to 51 here. You know, Jaegers take up a lot of that population, but I think that they deserve it. And this just looks like it's going to be really tough for Stitchh to hold. However, you know, GiveUAnxiety losing a few war wagons for kind of not much return at all. It's going to be a nice pickup for Stitchh, and he is going out on the middle of the map, going to find a few villagers and 6 skirmishers, which is going to be a sort of a nice little pickup. Again, he can't really afford to lose these Naginatas, though, at least not for nothing, right? Picking up a villager and these skirmishers is nice recompense, but yeah, I think more than anything, he needs to buy himself time. And if these Naginatas can accomplish that, then they will have paid off. You know, especially with such a defensive base like this, you don't really need the Naginatas that much, right? Yumis and walls, it's a meme, but it exists for a reason. And for the moment, you know, these 2 flaming arrows and Yumis are going to be enough to hold him back. He's rebuilding the consulate in the back of his base, and here comes the 1,000 coins. So now I believe he's trying to age. He's been floating 2,000 food for what seems like ages now. The Naginata is picking off the Ulans, sieging the shrines on the top of the map quite nicely, and getting away just before the war wagons come in. You know, Stitch's base is nice and well and protected with these walls at the sort of southeast, but I mean, in the north of the map, I think GiveUAnxiety will try to re-maneuver and enter the base this way. And you know, there's a lot more vulnerabilities. You know, all of his wood chopping is occurring up there, but as I say that, you know, GiveUAnxiety is a little hesitant, and Stitchh is doing a nice job being active with these Naginatas on the map. It looks like he should get another villager at least, but they might finally fall. Some Ulans are going to come in and snare. If he drops a couple snared ones back like that, yeah, you can get out with most of them, but he is going to lose a few. And you know, let's look at cards again. Let's go all units. German player did ship cavalry combat and now 1,000 coin. And I think GiveUAnxiety is getting ready to go up to H4 as well. We see him floating roughly 1,000 resources of food and coin each. Or if we look at units in queue, what does he have in queue? Nothing. So I believe... Nah, 8 skirmishers. So he is spending his resources. Looks like he's finally training some Ulans. Upgraded them to veteran. And Stitchh has... you know, is forced to send 2 cherry orchards as his card, even though he would much prefer to send an Age 4 military card. So, I mean, this is a really critical point in the game. These walls are close to going down, however, there's not a very large cav mass for GiveUAnxiety, and there's really just mostly only Yumis here on the field. The Daimyo's getting a little adventurous, going to get immediately picked off by the War Wagons. That's such a huge loss. You know, that's so what, a 10 or 15% attack boost for all units within its vicinity. Tragic, but these Ulans are finally going to break through. So the walls do go down, and we have probably about 10 or 12 Ulans on the field. Going to try to get in position here. These Yumis are doing the best they can, but I don't know if it's going to be enough to hold. These Ulans need to get in the fight. Maybe they don't need to, but it'd be much beneficial if he did. Ashigaru's being sent. I don't know why that wasn't a Yumi card. He doesn't have Yumis in deck. I mean, these are just colonial Ashigarus, don't have veterancy upgraded at all. And now finally all the Ulans are trying to come in. There are no more walls really. The only thing that can save Stitchh is just keep kiting and sort of using these structures to obstruct the pathing of the Ulans. Finally, both sets of Minutemen are being called, but I think this is sort of the last thing Stitchh has up his sleeve. He will get another shipment to send soon, but oh, it's so tough. These clubmen are pathing the wrong way. 2 Naginatas are on the floor, but you know, what exactly did those accomplish? And I mean, still, there's 7 Jaegers still on the field, right? This is going to be super tough for Stitchh to hold. He does have another shipment on the way. I can only assume it's going to be 14 Ashigarus, but I mean, Black Riders now, like, this just has to be the killing blow. Like, there's no way that Stitchh will be able to clean up this military mass. And GiveUAnxiety off to an early lead here, 2-0, and already finds himself at match point. Alright, Stitchh is requesting we go quick, so I will just take a look at these graphs very soon. Villager count, you know, all resources gathered. Germany's ahead most of the game. You know, what's going on here? Military population. There's just some sort of strategical build order losses happening here. I don't think Stitchh is playing bad when it comes to, you know, unit positioning, micro, stuff like that, macro, but, you know, I think his build orders are not getting the job quite, you know, not getting the job done here. So we do find Hudson Bay. It's our 3rd map. And I believe I am going to lose all of my betting points, but that's okay. So Stitchh is sticking with his main squeeze, Japanese, and GiveUAnxiety is now forced to choose his 3rd unique civilization this series because he's won the previous 2 matches and he has selected the French. The map is Hudson Bay. This is match point of this best of 5 series, which GiveUAnxiety is winning 2-0 currently. We have GiveUAnxiety in the color blue in the west of the map and Stitchh in the color orange in the east. Let's look at the crate spawn real quick. It's a wood start, so both players should be pleased. Sort of the ideal start for most civilizations, gives you the most options. And Stitchh is even going to find a 50 wood treasure in base, so that's quite nice for him. If we quickly look at the map resource balance, 3 hunts for each civilization plus the starting and a mine up top. This all looks very nice and balanced, so we are good to go. And GiveUAnxiety will immediately lay down a trading post in the middle of the map. This is an interesting decision because this is very accessible to pressure. And we have seen Stitchh play aggressive Japan the last 2 games. So, personally, I might have considered to build it down here in the south of the map instead. But to each his own. GiveUAnxiety might be looking to play this out just in the colonial age. And there are many good treasures in the middle of the map. We see 100 coin right by GiveUAnxiety starting trading post. 110 wood guarded by 2 polar bears, also by the trading route. 90 food guarded by 3 wolves. Always lots of good stuff on this map in terms of treasures, but it looks like it was a particularly good spawn here. 75 wood here, 90 coin another, 135 XP. Wow. I think a lot of times you see treasures on this map that are like improves hero hit points, etc. But these are all just resources. 75 wood here, it's just super nice. And 120 food in the northwest. My gosh. What is going on? So it looks like GiveUAnxiety is going to pick up 75 wood as his first treasure. Unfortunately, was not able to scout it before he built his house, so it won't really be speeding up his build at all. And I'm unsure why he's still chopping wood. He's got his trading post in his house, so perhaps he wants to build a market. But for the first time in this series, we do see Stitchh send Heavenly Kami as opposed to 300 wood. So this deck looks identical except for the fact that he has switched 300 wood for food silos now. And also he's got, he's missing the 14 Ash. He's got Mortaru range. Huh. Mortar's attack range and line of sight increased? Interesting. So this looks a bit more sort of late game, eco style, kind of, as opposed to aggressive Japan. But GiveUAnxiety is going to pick up this 90 food now. Quite nice for him, and he's already got another shipment available to send, should he choose to. And his deck is, he's got a couple of water shipments. If he needs them, 2 caravels, 1 frigate, and pioneers. It's kind of an interesting decision there. But otherwise, looks quite standard. And I'm curious to see what GiveUAnxiety's game plan is. We do have 1 forward Coeur de Bois tracking across the map, and so I think he might sort of lay down an aggressive forward base, which is interesting because the last 2 times these players have played, Stitches went for all-in Japan aggression builds. So I don't know if he has already scouted the difference in style yet, or if he's just sort of, thinks that Stitchh has to do something different, sort of mind gaming him, or if he's not afraid of Stitch's aggression at all. We'll have to see. But the scout does come in, does see Portuguese consulate, so that's kind of all that's a big chunk of what you need to know that Stitchh is going slower, more economically focused this game. And meanwhile, GiveUAnxiety is trying to pick up another 75 wood treasure. And the thing about playing Japan on this map is that Japan can really only treasure the treasures that have sort of low hit point guardians, like wolves or coyotes or something like that. These polar bears are not so bueno for them. So they're going to really struggle to take these larger polar bear treasures. And meanwhile, GiveUAnxiety can just sort of, with his crackshot ability, just sort of whittle them down throughout the map and get quite a nice advantage. So his native scout is doing some nice scouting, getting some nice information. And I forgot that the Japanese deck trick, of course, has been fixed on EP. quote-unquote fixed. It has been changed. Where previously when you viewed a Japan player's deck, all the cards that they could send twice each had a little ×2 in the top right of the card. And if the player sent that card once, that ×2 would disappear. So if you were playing Japan, if you routinely checked their decks, you would know what cards they were sending at all times. It was quite an important part of playing against Japan, and something that is not available anymore. We do see 5 pikemen immediately out of the barracks from GiveUAnxiety, and again are going to be sieging these highly available shrines. The difference being in this game, Stitchh is already at 120 shrine pop, so losing these shrines is not so devastating to his build. They're cheaper. He's not going to get housed, and they are buying him some time, providing him some nice information. But GiveUAnxiety is placing down a second trading post here. It's going to be quite nice for him, and I think he has thoughts of maybe going Stagecoach. Although, no, excuse me, I think he's just going to be content to age up off of this. Units in queue, just 1 Musketeer for GiveUAnxiety. He shipped 4 CDB, 700 coin, and then 700 wood. And it looks like he is macroing to go to age 3. This is a really nice build from GiveUAnxiety, to be honest. I quite like this. When you notice, when you scout these walls by Japan, getting much done in H2 is going to be very difficult. So rather send the coin early, age up early, and get a really nice timing in H3. Either right away by sending military units, or like he's doing now, establish Stagecoach and then sort of reach your critical mass later. However, going Stagecoach right now sort of leaves him open to a potential timing by Stitchh in H2, if he can pull it off, to sort of push this forward base. Right, there's only 1 barracks. GiveUAnxiety has just invested 2,200 resources into aging up. There is potential for Japan to get some damage done. However, it looks like it's not really on their radar. They're going quite economic, and I think also getting ready to age themselves. Not spending their resources, no units in queue. And GiveUAnxiety is continuing to train Musketeers in transition, so I believe 2 Falconets will either be his first shipment or right after that one. I think 2 Falcons first would be a really nice game plan for him. And that will indeed be what it is, because his population's just jumped up 10. Or at least I think it's 2 Falcons. I don't think it's 5 Dragoons or something. And he's laying down an artillery foundry in the middle of the map. So I think he's just going to go for Musketeer Falc, which can be quite strong. Stitchh is aging up though, and he will have access to, well, I was going to say to the 2 Flaming Arrow shipment, but it is not in his deck. That's actually going to be huge. Flaming Arrows do outrange Falconets by 2 units, 28 to 26. However, if the Falconets get in range, the Flaming Arrows do quite poorly. But Flaming Arrows are often very important for Japan when it comes to contesting the European civilization's 2 Falconet shipment. And not having that in his deck is, I think, really going to hurt him. And we do see 2 Falconets were shipped. And this is kind of ballsy. This is kind of bold, I guess I should say. If there were any Naganatas on the field, these are just totally open to being killed. I mean, there's nothing guarding them. But, I guess he feels comfortable with this. And look at this. It's killing a lot of these caribou. Oh, that's so sad. All that area damage and killed those 4 caribou. I guess they were going to get killed anyways, but, It's at least decay that GiveUAnxiety doesn't want. But what can you do? A batch of 1 Falconet is coming out now. Unfortunately, couldn't get macro to get more than that out. And five Dragoons now he shipped. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of this 5 Dragoon shipment. And you know, what are they doing now? Imagine if they were just like 10 Nagi here, something. I don't know. I'm worse than both these players, so don't listen to me. Another shrine going down, and the area damage will kill a Muskox. And that, you know, should Japan ever reshrine this, the shrine will have slightly less effectiveness because, you know, it's only going to be 3 animals now instead of the maximum 4. But GiveUAnxiety just not at all concerned about the safety of his falconets. Look at these guys out in the middle of no man's land, no units around to protect them, and you know, just is not afraid whatsoever. And there it is. It's a 3-0 sweep by GiveUAnxiety. Impressive showing, to be sure. Stitchh sticking with Japan for all 3 of his games. You know, I think if you look at the ladder, Stitchh is not so active right now. GiveUAnxiety has been playing a lot, and you know, just maybe wasn't feeling it today. Nonetheless, you know, I really like GiveUAnxiety's build order that game. I think that's sort of the best way to go about defeating Heavenly Kami Japan. You know, just get a really insane mass around this time. But well, thanks for watching, everyone. This was a bit of an impromptu stream. Sort of fired it up right away. Didn't give a lot of chance for people to see what was going on, but glad you could check it out. And of course, GiveUAnxiety was streaming his own first-person point of view on his own personal channel, and perhaps he'll keep streaming after this. But that is going to be it for us here on ESOC TV. Thanks for tuning in. Of course, if you want more content like this, if you want to watch more exciting matches live, you can check out the website eso-community.net. We have a live updated calendar that showcases all the upcoming matches, and this is just the beginning. We're at the start of the winter event. A whole bunch more really close series between some really great players are going to be coming up, and you don't want to miss it. It's way more fun to watch live, so check it all out. That's it for me. Thanks for tuning in, and have a good day.